What are the best live metal bands that I have ever seen? In this video, I'm going to go over some of the best live bands that I've ever seen in my entire life, give you guys some recommendations of what you should expect if you go to see any of them, and I also want to hear what are your favorite live shows that you've ever seen, whether it be from the underground or mainstream, and it doesn't even have to be metal or rock, just any concert that really just stuck with you. I have a list here that I'm going to go through, and I'm super excited to tell you guys about some of the best bands I've ever seen. The first of which being Slayer. I actually have above right here, I have my Slayer ticket for their farewell tour that I got to see with my father, which was a really magical and awesome experience that I will not forget for the rest of my life as long as I live. And Slayer is exactly what you might think. They are the preeminent thrash metal live band. They are fantastic. They were so tight, and it was just an honor to get to see them sort of on their farewell tour because I really love Slayer. Like, they're my second favorite of the big four. I've always said it goes Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax. I did a video not too long ago about that, and Slayer gives you exactly what you would want and then some. They are such good performers, and there is such a thing as just being like clockwork and just having everything down to a T where you know exactly where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing, and it ran like oil. The next up, kind of similarly, Aman Mar, but for different reasons. Aman Mar live up to all the expectations that you would have of the Viking aesthetic. When I saw them live, and I don't know if this is true of like everywhere, they literally had like a whole fucking set, and they were an opener. Like, they were an opener, and they had a huge ass Viking boat and fucking flagons and like big horns and tusks and banners around and all this stuff. It was incredible. And I was lucky enough to be on one of the tours where I saw like 100 dudes, and I got a part of it, on the floor doing a human rowing boat in the mosh pit. That was fucking awesome. But Amon Amarth, fantastic. If you get behind sort of like, in a way, like the cheesiness of like a band really leaning into their theme, I highly suggest Amon Amarth. For metalcore fans and moshers, a really big surprise for me the last time I saw Born of Osiris, it was my second time seeing them, which I have like my own little gripes with Born of Osiris live, but they are also a very good band to see live. Traitors. Traitors was like one of the first bands to play that night, and I have never seen such like a, in theory, like smaller metalcore band. I know they obviously have their own fan base and stuff, but smaller in regards to the tour that they were on, just command an audience so violently. I would argue that the mosh pit during Traitors was bigger than like any other band that night, and there were some bands there that were much bigger than them, not the least of which was Born of Osiris. So that mosh pit was fucking incredible. That was one of my favorite mosh pits I've just ever been a part of. Like, people were tearing each other the fuck up apart. The lead singer literally said that like if people were bleeding, you would get a free shirt, and they were taking that literally, and they actually honored that after the show. So, you know, if you ever go, maybe you too can get a free shirt. Same tour, same show, Upon a Burning Body. Holy fuck, they kicked ass. The aggression and the speed and vigor they played with. Maybe it was also just because I was at a venue that had really good sound. They kicked ass. Everything came through in full-fledged like power and adrenaline. There was so much energy in the crowd. Everyone was into it. It was so moshy and jumpy. It was another fantastic metalcore show, and I was also happy that they played a lot of their early material, so you also got to get the mixture of like metalcore and deathcore, so those two worlds kind of meeting was awesome. A band that I will compare a lot to Slayer that was on that same tour, that sort of embodied exactly what you would imagine them doing, but also just performing it so fucking well, was Lamb of God. They are incredible live. Randy Blythe is like, he sounds literally identical to how he does on their material. His vocals were so destructive and crisp, and he just has the energy and stage presence of a monster. He was moving around constantly, bouncing around, jumping, moving from left, right, center. It was incredible. I got to see Lamb of God at like a big ass venue. It was on Slayer's farewell tour, and they just owned that. They had such a pretty simple like set design, but they owned it, and Randy Blythe definitely was the standout, and that's no disrespect to the rest of the band, but it was one of those times where like the vocalist really just sold that so well, and his vocals have aged incredibly well. I know I've said a lot during this list that a band gives you exactly what you would think they would give you, but no band on this list epitomizes that better than Cannibal fucking Corpse. Corpse Grinder is exactly what you would imagine out of a frontman. They really do honor that old school death metal tradition that they came from, and you're not going to find many bands from that period that are able to kick ass in that same way now. They really do have their pattern down to a T, and they were awesome to see live. Great chunky sound, they really do have all of their stuff down to a T. Next up, the band that I am actually wearing a shirt from, this was on the tour I saw with Sanguisugabog, Crown Vic. This is a band from West Virginia, my home state, and I got to see them, and I actually, over any of the other bands that I saw, decided to support them and get a t-shirt at the concert. They are incredible. They're like a sludgy doom metal band with some grind influence, but they're mostly just an incredibly hefty, heavy band, and even though they were playing early and not many people really knew that much about them, they're a great underground band and one that I heavily suggest. I had never personally heard of them, and I know they play in like this area around like the Appalachian, like tri-state area, because I'm near like Ohio and Kentucky, like the border of those. So they play a lot of local shows, and I would love to see them again, and I'd love to see them get more exposure. I know they've had like something uploaded to Slam Worldwide, so that's good on them. And yeah, if you want some like great underground doom and sludge metal, check them out. They were awesome live, and I'm super glad that my first time hearing them really left such an imprint that I, supported them. And that really owns that sort of 2000s live show energy is Prevail. I've seen them twice now. I saw them once on tour with A Day to Remember and Beartooth, and then I saw them at Blue Ridge Rock Fest like 3 or 4 years back, like 3 years back, and both times they just kicked ass. Like, they had command over the audience. I love the dual vocalists. It gives both of them time to breathe, so it's not so hard on either of them, and so anytime they have their peak dynamics, they really do play off of each other perfectly well, and they have full energy. I caught them on the back half of both of their tours, and they had so much energy in the tank, and they really did riot the whole damn crowd together with some great live metalcore music. Those breakdowns were great, and it's one of those things where like neither vocalist lagged behind or like sucked compared to the other live. They both sound incredible live. It sound literally like they do on their live material. Okay, I can acknowledge the fact that this is a band that is not like the tightest live in the world, but I have seen them 3 times, and they are one of the bands that got me into metal music. Fucking Breaking Benjamin, and I have such a soft spot for Breaking Benjamin, but I just have to say, yeah, they were my first concert I ever saw, and I saw them with Five Finger Death Punch, and I'll just go ahead and say Five Finger Death Punch is the next one as well. I saw them at my first concert, so it might be a little bit of nostalgia, but Breaking Benjamin was such a gateway into metal for me, and Ben is just such a charismatic, fun frontman, and they are one of those things, like, they have that sort of oiled down rhythm to their music where they know exactly what they're going to play. They also have a really diverse set list. They're not the type of band that just lingers in like one specific album or just tours for their new material. They have a lot of different diverse things coming from all of their albums. They hit all of the hits, and they've done an encore like every time I've seen them. Just great. I've also gotten to fist bump Benjamin Burnley like in the stands. That was pretty cool. And I got to meet Five Finger Death Punch. And I know that Five Finger Death Punch are a meme, and I know they get clowned on, but in the grand scheme of things, they have a kick-ass live show. If you ever get the chance to check them out, even if you're not that big of a fan of them, I really do suggest giving them a shot. Ivan really is a great frontman live. I think they are underrated for their live performances. They did great. They sounded awesome live. They had a great like sound design to them, so it may have been like the stage or anything, but maybe it's not the most original music, but it has that gruff exterior and it just kicks ass. It just makes you want to like chew up some nails and like spit out fire. But what are your favorite live concerts you've ever seen? You can let me know down below, and if you've seen any of the bands I listed in this video live, I could talk about a lot more and probably do a part 2. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.